Yeah, I think I wanted to begin our talk, our session today with a note added to what we had from Kalpana this morning, because that would give you a full picture. She did trace out very smoothly the character of Savitri and Satyavan, not for the sake of the character, but to tell us how Satyavan was an Adhar, a person who was ready to receive Savitri on every level. Because we have seen no one could have been partner to Savitri, not only because of her human excellence, but because of her avataric consciousness. There had to be someone who could equal her on the level of consciousness itself. So she gave us that logic very well, and she brought us to the point where Satyavan says that what is missing is the transcendental power. He has undergone all the tapasya and he has reached a consciousness. But then he says, I yet need to have the transcendental power to do any kind of a transformation. So that was the necessity of Savitri in Satyavan's life. But then the question of why is it that Satyavan could not face death himself? So that's the answer, that in order to face death, you need to have the transcendental power. And we also talked about it in our previous class, that even Savitri, when she reaches her own transcendental level, that she is able to transform death. Otherwise, Savitri, the daughter, the woman, the lover, none of these aspects of Savitri are ready to face death. So that was the point that she concluded with, and that was rightly done. But there's one more angle to it. Who was Satyavan? And in the letter that Sri Aurobindo writes, in fact he writes a note to Savitri, where he describes that Satyavan is the soul descended into death. Although we have from the Supreme descriptions, the Supreme describing Satyavan as a soul who has been ascending in evolution, preparing himself for the past 1,000 years, an evolutionary soul. But the crux of Satyavan is truth descended into matter, into death. So if truth has descended into matter, in order to transform matter, see, it is not that it is trapped, it is there to transform matter. But in this process of transformation, there is always the need and help of the higher consciousness to descend. That is the process of evolution itself. There is an ascent and there is a descent. So these two movements must go simultaneously. Otherwise, there is no higher step in evolution that takes place. That's what happened to matter, that's what happened to light, and that's what happened to mind. In fact, our mythology of the Dashavatara is nothing but a tale of this evolution. Whatever you call Kurma Avatara and then this Avatara and Matsya Avatara. So these are all avatars given in the name of the Kurma or the Matsya, Ronda, all that, only to tell us that there is a divinity, a consciousness which stepped out of the water on the land, a tortoise. Then there is this from the land, on the land itself we have a semi-land and a semi-water person or creature. Then on the land itself you have first of all, you have the boar. I mean, these are the stages. And when it comes to the level of man, you have also the pygmy man, the Varavatar, and not the Varavatar, what is that? Vama. So you see, these are already embedded in our own consciousness in the Indian mythology, that these are stages. But each time there is an evolutionary stage, the higher consciousness descends. So it's the meeting of the higher and the lower that triggers the new evolution or the new step. So Satyavan is that soul in evolution. In fact, it's very interesting when somebody asks Sri Aurobindo, what have you been doing in your previous births? He says, I have been helping evolution. So that means he has taken many a birth only to see that the evolution progresses. He has not been one of those souls which has come to fulfill its karma. He says, I have been here, I have taken previous births, each time helping the human evolution. So Satyavan is that soul who has been preparing the earth for the ascent into the supermind. But for the ascent to take place, there is the necessity of descent of Savitri. Because Savitri is always the descending consciousness, Satyavan is always the ascending consciousness. So on each level, Satyavan represents a preparedness of the earth, and then he invokes the higher consciousness. That is the significance of the line that Kalpana read out in the morning. Thrice the word descend comes. Descend, O princess, descend, O beauty, descend, O the higher consciousness. And it says always descend upon this earth. It's not descend into my heart or into my life. So this is the significance, that he is always invoking Savitri to come down. So figuratively we see Savitri getting down her chariot. That's only the outer image. But the inner symbolism is that she has to descend upon earth. And then, it's only then that the transformation can begin. And similarly, that's the thing that will happen with Mother and Sri Aurobindo too. It's only when the mother descended in 1920, in a figurative way, that the work of the descent into the subconscious and the inconscient began. Until 1920, until the second coming of the mother, Sri Aurobindo alone could not descend into the inconscient, where there is a possibility of the conquest of death. You see, there, when we say possibility of the conquest of death, that means it has to be uprooted from the subconscious and inconscient. It is not the question of prolonging one's life and the lifespan. It's not that. They say we have to work out the transformation on the root level. Then only it will manifest itself. It will be a permanent feature of evolution. So it's interesting to see that Sri Aurobindo also waits for the descent of the mother. So it's not just chronological or accidental or perchance that the mother returns in 1920. Now she comes back, there is a descent, and the work of transformation begins when both of them are together. Not until then. Until then, both of them, like Savitri and Satyavan, they prepared their own ways, their own realizations, their own conquest of spiritual peaks. But when they combine, only then the true work begins. So, the necessity of the meeting is because of this, the union, the dual power, of Shakti and Purusha. They have to come together for the transformation. And then the question is, of course this answers the question why Satyavan could not make it all alone, because he now gets the supramental or the transcendental power, and the work begins. Exactly parallelism is with Mother and Shri. I wanted to add that, and then the second question that Jamshed also asked later, we'll come to that in this passage now that we are going to take up. That is about Narad. This is a book here, Book of Fate. Now the essence, of course, here the destiny and the fate of Savitri is declared when Narad tells that this is the day when Satyavan must die. But before taking up the description given by Narad of Savitri, first of all we must understand who this Narad is. Because he is not one whom we know as, the mythological figure. But what is his reality? Is he just a mythological figure who is really sometimes laughed at and who makes, quarrels and who has all this, in the TV you see everything? Somebody obviously asked the question to Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo replied, I'm afraid I don't know much about Narad. Because he has a huge passage here in this book. That was in 1935, maybe he didn't come to this book of fate by then. But what is interesting, what is really what you should remember is this sentence. Mother once saw him standing between the overmind and supermind where they joined, as if that was his highest station. So you see, Narad is not a mythological figure to laugh at. He is a being between the overmind and the supermind, where they meet. So you see, he is that Muni, Maharshi, whereas he says, but he has his action on the lower plane also. Only I don't quite know what it is. In the Puranic tales, pure love and bhakti on the one hand, and on the other, a pleasure in making human beings quarrel seem to be his salient characteristics. That's what we know. He makes people quarrel and gods quarrel and all that. But that's not interesting for us. What is interesting is what the mother saw. See, that's what is significant. That he is a being who comes from the higher, station between overmind and supermind, but who works on this lower plane of life, mind and body. So he is a kind of a messenger between the higher consciousness and the lower consciousness of earth. And he is one who knows. He has two characteristics. One is love for the divine, his constant singing of Narad, of Vishnu, and his knowledge. He knows everything that's happening in this world, middle world, higher world. He has the tremendous foreknowledge of things. And what Sri Aurobindo uses here in this canto is his aspect of knowledge. So first let us have a little glimpse into what kind of a knowledge he has before we take up his description. So let me open on the first page of Canto 1, Book 6, the word of fate. In fact, I just came upon one aphorism of Sri Aurobindo where he writes, the greatest of joys is to be like Narad, the slave of God. The greatest of joys is to be like Narad, the slave of God. And another one, the next aphorism says, God's servant is something, God's slave is greater. So you can see the position that Narad holds in mythology, the slave of God. Now let me take up the reading. In silent bounds bordering the mortal's plain, crossing a wide expanse of brilliant peace, Narad, the heavenly sage from paradise, came chanting through the large and lustrous air. You see, the chanting is, of course, is maintained that he is the singer, the chanting not only of Narayan or Vishnu's name, but of different songs. So you see the description here. In silent bounds bordering the mortal's plain, crossing a wide expanse of brilliant peace, Narad, the heavenly sage from paradise, came chanting through the large and lustrous air. Attracted by the golden summer earth that lay beneath him like a glowing bowl, tilted upon a table of the gods, turning as it moved round by an unseen hand to catch the warmth and blaze of a small sun, he passed from the immortal's happy paths to a world of toil and quest and grief and hope, to these rooms of a seesaw game of death and life. So first we get the description that Narad is not coming to earth from his paradise, he is descending. And what has he seen in the descent? Attracted by the golden summer earth. It is, of course, the summertime is not just the summertime, but there is something of the golden in the sense that there is an avatar who has come. Savitri has descended. So in order to see, to have the darshan of that avatar, he is also eager to see who is this Savitri. Of course, he knows everything, but to see her physically is different. So he is attracted by this earth which has this golden hue because of this avatar. And so he comes there, he passed from his level to the immortal's happy path to the world, to these rooms of a seesaw game of death and life. Across an intangible border of soul space, he passed from mind into material things, amid the inventions of the inconscient self and the workings of a blind somnambulist force. I skipped a few lines there. I'd like you to take up here again, say from the line, he beheld the cosmic being at his task. Can you get that? A few lines down.
Next page.
He felt a sap of life, a sap of death, into solid matter's dense communion, plunging, and its obscure oneness of forms he shared with a dumb spirit identity. He beheld the cosmic being at his task, his eyes measured the spaces, gauged the depths, his inner gaze the movements of the soul. He saw the eternal labor of the gods and looked upon the life of beasts and men. A change now fell upon the singer's mood, a rapture and a pathos moved his voice. He sang no more of light that never wanes and oneness and pure everlasting bliss. He sang no more the deathless heart of love. His chant was a hymn of ignorance and faith. He sang the name of Vishnu and the birth and joy and passion of the mystic world. You see, just to give a little background, this time when Narad is descending upon earth, his song was completely different. It was not a song of the earth's pain and pleasure and joys and all that. There was a completely new theme. That's what Shravan is highlighting here. He sang the name of Vishnu and the birth and the joy and passion of a mystic world, and how the stars were made and life began, and the mute regions stirred with the throb of his soul. He sang the inconscient and its secret self, its power omnipotent, knowing not what it does, all shaping without will or thought or sense, is blind, unerring, occult mystery, and darkness yearning towards the eternal light, and love that broods within a dim abyss, and waits the answer of the human heart, and death that climbs to immortality. He sang of the truth that cries from night's blind deeps, and the mother wisdom hid in nature's breast, and the idea that through her dumbness works, and the miracle of her transforming hands, of life that slumbers in the stone and sun, and mind subliminal in mindless life, and the consciousness that wakes in beasts and men. Of course, you can see here, I'm not stopping much because this is only a sketch of the evolution. You see, now suddenly Narada has taken up a song wherein he is beginning with the theme of evolution of earth, of this manifestation. So he's taking us through the different levels of death and mind and matter and all that. But where I would like to concentrate is the last lines. He sang of the glory and marvel still to be born. Now that is the real point for us. He sang of the glory and marvel still to be born, of the Godhead throwing off at last its veil, of bodies made divine and life made bliss. See, that is the future note already. You see, Narad is coming, singing of the future of earth. And you see, he has not yet met Ashwapati, not yet met Savitri, nothing. But his very song gives us the promise of the bright future. And this, poetically, is a very fine balance. Because the reader is being prepared mentally that there is a bright future, a golden future. He says, of the bodies made divine and life made bliss. Already he is speaking about the transformation. You see, bodies made divine and life made bliss, immortal sweetness clasping immortal might, heart sensing heart, thought looking straight at thoughts, and the delight when every barrier falls, and the transfiguration and the ecstasy. So if you want to know what is the future, for the first time we see in Narad's song, the transformation of the body, the transformation of the heart, of the mind, and then the delight, when every barrier falls, it's kind of the Ananda, the delight return to the world. So he's singing of that future. And he sang, and as he sang, the demons wept with joy, foreseeing the end of the long, dreadful task, and the defeat for which they hoped in vain, and glad release from their self-chosen doom, and return into the one from whom they came. Beautiful line. You see, and as he sang, the demons wept with joy. Because after all these Ravanas and the demons and the Asuras and death and Yama, they say at last our function is over. They were kind of forced to do this anti-divine role. I mean, the divine has given them a role, they have to do it. But now with that new golden era, they say our function is over. So even Savitri tells Yama, death, they stay on, your work is still there. So she would say, until there is this supramental world that comes in, there is the role and function of the demons, anti-divine forces, whatever you call the black things. So now in Narad's song, when the demons heard his song, they wept with joy, foreseeing the end of the long, dreadful task. It's a task given by the divine to them. So the anti-divine forces or the hostile forces, whatever we call, they are not something that are there to harm us. In fact, in one of the letters or somewhere the mother would say, I was really deeply touched when she says that every difficulty, every problem, somebody chooses it for you. Imagine how close is the divine. It's not that the difficulty has come and we saw it's anti-divine forces, it's hostile forces. Who is this hostile? Who is this anti-divine? It's the same hand of God. It's the same divine consciousness, which is so close to each one of us. It sees what is needed for you. So it may give you some problems, some so-called, and then philosophically we call it, black forces and dark forces and vital forces. Ultimately, if your consciousness is high enough, you say, oh, this is humbug. Philosophically we say, these are only roles, like we have in a drama, the good and the bad, But Shakespeare must be enjoying seeing Macbeth and Lady Macbeth and King Lear and his daughter and Shylock. He is a great dramatist. But for the sake of the play, he said, you become a Shylock, you become Portia, you become this thing. He gives roles. So when the drama is over, our Shylock is the same good man and Lady Macbeth is a good lady. So here they say they are really happy that at last the difficult task is over, I would say, the dreadful task, and the defeat for which they hoped in vain. When will we be defeated? I mean, they're waiting for the time when they will be defeated, when they say, okay boys, your role is over. Now you can what? And return into the one from whom they came. So we are all waiting for the return. And the happiest people to come back to us, to be happy, were the demons, the anti-divine forces. Because they can now say at last, we can go back. So you can see this song of Narad is very significant. It's foreseeing the world, the golden era, then he is coming down to see that avatar, and now the drama begins, you see. And of course, down the line, a few lines, we can see that King Ashwapati's palace to the winds. I'm sorry, let me continue. As might a lightning streak, a glory fell nearing until the rapt eyes of the sage looked out from luminous cloud and strangely limned his face, a beautiful mask of antique joy, appearing in the light, descended where arose King Ashwapati's palace to the winds in Madra, flowering up in delicate stone. So when he is coming very close to the earth, he sees a beautiful face, a beautiful mask of antique joy, King Ashwapati. But there's one line I want you to see. He says, as might a lightning streak. So his passage is like that of a lightning, the speed of light. He is not coming from those great heights, slowly wandering and singing. There is a lightning speed in his descent. So in that speed, when he comes close, he sees in Madra, Ashwapati. There welcomed him the sage and thoughtful king. At his side a creature beautiful, passionate, wise, aspiring like a sacrificial flame, skyward from his earth seat through luminous air, queen-browed, the human mother of Savitri. So he has descended. He has come to the palace. Now, why did he come to the palace? Well, then there's a beautiful line about what he saw. And so in the passage of that, when he's sitting with the king and the queen, there comes Savitri. A mighty shuddering coil of ecstasy crept through the deep heart of the universe. Out of her matter's stupor, her mind's dreams, she woke. She looked upon God's unveiled face. Even as he sang and rapture stole through earth-time and caught the heavens, came with a call of hooves, as of her swift heart hastening Savitri. So you see, there is a dramatic moment. Savitri has just met with Satyavan. She's still in the chariot, the same chariot she is returning. And when she comes to the palace, there is her parents and Narad. And that's the description I was asking you to see. Her radiant tread glimmered across the floor. See, every word you notice here, a radiant tread. There is luminosity, there is lightness. So already there is that kind of a joy, this kind of jumping with joy. A happy wonder in her fathomless gaze changed the halo of her love she came. Her eyes, rich with a shining mist of joy, as one who comes from a heavenly embassy, discharging the proud mission of her heart, one carrying the sanction of the gods to her love and its luminous eternity, she stood before her mighty Father's throne. So you see here, her eyes rich with a shining mist of joy. You can imagine the Savitri, the lover, has met her partner. And what a joy. So her eyes are rich with a shining, even you can see the bubbling joy in her eyes. As one who comes from a heavenly embassy. What is that? Discharging the proud mission of her heart. Because she was asked by Ashwapati to go and find out. So she has completed her mission. So she is wonderfully happy. One carrying the sanction of the gods to her love and its luminous eternity. So she knows that there is a sanction of the gods in her meeting. And we have seen the canto which is called the destined meeting place. That's where they meet. But have you seen where did they meet? You noted that? Where do Savitri and Satyavan meet?
The forest.
In the forest. But Savitri had gone into many cities and everywhere looking for a partner. But typically she meets Satyavan in the forest. The forest is a symbol of life. It is not just something lost. It is a standing symbol of life element. And that's again so true of Sri Aurobindo, that you have to find your partner, your life, your change, everything in life. Not outside, not beyond, not in some material, idealistic, beautiful city and town where you have got Bombay and Delhi and all. It's not that. Right in the midst of life. So significantly, we see that she meets him in the forest. That means in life itself. Because they have to work out in this life or on this earth. So this green forest that is there, that's given beautiful there, is not only symbolizes the purity of life, but it symbolizes that Savitri and Satyavan meet in the midst of life.
But there's a purity life.
Yeah.
Behind the forest.
Yeah, that's what I said. Purity and the beauty
So city,
of this virgin life.
city represents.
Pardon me?
City represents.
City. Oh, city is all the you know that. I don't have to say that. So all the corruption, all the impurity, everything you can't even breathe in the city. So that's interesting that she has passed through many kingdoms where she doesn't see anywhere. Because the cities and all these things, they represent more the mental consciousness. The forest represents the life consciousness.
Yeah, it's the soul. We find as I experience always in nature, the contact with the soul.
Yeah, the closer to soul. So there is this kind of an environment which is created for their meeting. And therefore she comes back. She says, one carrying the sanction of the gods. She stood before her mighty Father's throne. I don't know why he's calling it mighty Father's throne. What's the meaning of that? Why does Sharna call it the mighty Father? After all, Father is Father. Why should there be the word mighty?
His consciousness was very high.
Consciousness pretty high, very high. Yeah, because you see, he was a great yogi, tapasvi, who had really connected with the Divine Mother. But it's not just, so it is not just the might of a king, might of consciousness, might of the inner being. And also you will see as a contrast to this might what Savitri is. That means later on we will see Savitri does not bother with this might also. She goes by her psychic with her soul call. So although it may be frightening to see a big king and the might and the splendor and the grandeur, but she has come with her own purity of her own love. So you would say, she stood before her mighty father's throne and eager for beauty on discovered earth, transformed and new in her heart's miracle light, saw like a rose of marble, worshipping the fiery sweetness of the Son of Heaven. Who is the Son of Heaven? Who is this? Nara. Saw like a rose of marble, worshipping He flung on her his vast immortal look. Already the word immortal, the godlike immortal look. That means he is able to penetrate her character, her personality, her inner being, her thought, her future. So that's the word of the immortal. His inner gaze surrounded her with his light and raining back knowledge from his immortal lips. He cried to her. Do you understand the word? Raining back knowledge from his immortal lips. Because he knows everything about her future. But for the present, he's pulling it back. He doesn't want to say anything. He's controlling, reining back the horse, He cried to her, "Who is this that comes? The bride, the flame born, and round her illumined head, pouring their lights, her hymeneal pomps move flashing about her." He knows everything. You see, that is the beauty here. He is not revealing yet. You see how the poet is taking us through stage by stage. It is not that the very first sentence is utters the stroke of faith. He would say, "Who are you and why is this? There is this flame born." You see how he calls it the flame born and round her illumined head. All these characteristics of कुछ जल रहा है ना? The flame born and round her illumined head, pouring their lights, her hymeneal forms, move flashing about her. From what green glimmer of glades? Already he knows. But look at the poet, green glimmer glades. That's the poetic stance, that onomatopoeia, that using the same, the syllable there. Retreating into dewy silences or half-seen verge of waters moon betrayed, brings thou this glory of enchanted eyes. That her eyes betray that she has met somebody. She's full of joy. She is enchanted. So Narad knows everything from looking at her eyes and says, "What's happening? Earth has gold-hued expanses, shadowy hills, that cowl their dreaming phantom heads in night, and guarded in a cloistral joy of woods, screen banks sink down into felicity. Screen banks sink down into felicity, seized by the curved, incessant, yearning hands and rippled passion of the upgazing stream. Amid cool-lipped murmurs of pure embrace, they lose their souls on beds of trembling reeds." You see, here is poetry which is really the climax of romantic poetry. You see, here we do not see any person, but we see a description of nature. But nature that is alive, nature that is responding, nature that has a personality. It's not just trees and hills. So Shravendra puts a kind of a soul into nature. And so you see the responding, the trembling reeds and the mysterious presences, etc. And all these are mysterious presences in which some spirit's immortal bliss is felt, and they betray the earthborn heart to joy. There hast thou paused, and marveling born eyes unknown, or heard a voice that forced thy life to strain its rapture through thy listening soul. Or, if my thought could trust this shimmering gaze, it would say, Thou hast not drunk from an earthly cup, but stepping through azure curtains of the morn, thou wast surrounded on a magic verge, in brighter countries than man's eye can bear, assailed by trooping voices of delight, and seas mid a sunlit glamour of the bogs, in fairy woods led down the gleaming slopes of Gandhamadan, where the Apsaras roam. Thy limbs have shared the sports which none has seen, and in god haunts thy human footsteps strayed, thy mortal bosom quivered with God's speech, and thy soul answered to a word unknown. You see, he knows everything. It's just one side is asking her, where did you come from? What is this joy in your eyes? But he can already see the whole background, the forest, and then the whole thing. They're surrounded by a magic verge in brighter countries. Everything is that he knows that she has gone beyond the normal cities, normal countries, and into a place where there is, and thy limbs have shared the sports which none has seen, and in God haunts thy human footsteps strayed. It's a virgin land, virgin forest, where nobody has gone there, but you have gone, you have strayed there. Thy mortal bosom quivered with God's speech. So you can almost see here that there has been a conversation between Savitri and Satyavan. So there's a God speech that was exchanged, and thy soul answered to a word unknown. What feet of gods, what ravishing flutes of heaven, have thrilled high melodies round from near and far, approaching through the soft and reveling air, with still surprise thou hearest. Now you see, this is all again a way of poetic way of emphasis. That there is a ravishing flute, there is a thrill in your voice, there is a reveling air. So he's just trying to take out the name. He knows the whole thing. That she has met someone whom she loves, with whom she has fallen in love, but she's just asking coming close to the question. They have fed thy silence on some red, strange, ecstasied fruit, and thou hast trod the dim moon peaks of bliss. Reveal, O winged with light, whence thou hast flown, hastening bright-hued through the green tangled earth, thy body rhythmical with a spring bird's call. So that's the direct question now. Whence thou hast flown, hastening bright-hued, from where are you coming? What is that beautiful area? What is that beautiful forest? So tell me, because your body itself is in a beautiful rhythm, matching the spring bird's call. The empty roses of thy hands are filled only with their own beauty and the thrill of a remembered clasp. A beautiful word there. And in thee glows a heavenly jar, thy firm, deep, honeyed heart, new brimming with the sweet and nectareous wine. You see, the empty roses of thy hands are filled only with their own beauty and the thrill of a remembered clasp. Yesterday, Viva was talking to us about a description when Radha and Krishna met for the first time. What is that place called? Priya? Prem Sarovar. That was the first meeting place, Prem Sarovar. And there's a beautiful description of how for the first time Radha goes to that place and that Krishna also comes to the same place. And so interesting, of course I had not read that before, but where they met, Krishna has a glimpse of Radha, of course hiding from behind some trees. And then just a glimpse is sufficient, he falls down unconscious. So imagine that Hindi words I cannot repeat, they are beautiful descriptions of how he looks at Radha. And then he has a swoon, he falls down. And then Radha, she also has a look at this person who is fallen down. And then she goes back home because Krishna is in a swoon. But something has happened to her, obviously. So when her friends ask her, hey, tell us what's happened, she says, no, nothing, but still, when they persuade her to tell, she says, no, I think you better take over. As a poet, you should tell me. Then I'll go. Because I don't want to spoil the poetic description.
Yeah, I can't repeat the same words.
No, but give us the mood.
What was written in the book. But it says that Radha is also so enchanted that she's overwhelmed by the beauty of that blue, fresh cloud like Krishna's form, which is freshly filled with water, and that the cloud that looks afresh in the sky, Krishna is like that, and she is not able to forget that form, and she is overwhelmed with that form, and she wants to meet him again, and unable to do that, and she's worried that when she came, he was in the swoon, and he was not even conscious. So she left him there in that state. What would have happened to him? She's also worried for that, and she wants to meet him again. So
But the friends asked her, what is the description? And then she said, there is a Mayur there.
Yeah. Then the friend Lalita Sakhi is the friend of Radha. She asked, मुझे बताओ कौन है वो? Radha says, नील वर्ण है, मेघ सा जलज जैसा उसका रूप है, और सिर पे एक मयूर किरीट भी है. So this is how she describes Krishna.
So you see, very interesting I never heard of this poetry that when they first meet, Radha and Krishna, they have heard about each other, there's a beauty thing, and Nandalal also is extremely beautiful and all that. But you see the sensitivity of the meeting of Radha and Krishna, and this Neel color, the bluish color of Krishna's body, that's what she remembers, and the famous Mayur Pank. So then Lalita says, I know that guy whom you are describing, and I'll see that he comes back and you two meet again. So, this is part of poetry, where the lovers meet for the first time. It has been there in our mythology everywhere. So that's something that we see here again, where Narad is telling Savitri, thy body, that the empty roses of the hands are filled only with their own beauty and the thrill of a remembered clasp. You see, he's saying your hands do not have any rose or anything, but there is in your rosy hands the thrill of the first clasp with Satyavan. And in thee glows a heavenly jar, thy firm, deep honeyed heart, now brimming with the sweet and nectareous wine. Thou hast not spoken with the kings of pain. Life's perilous music rings, yet to thy ear far melody, rapid, grand, a centaur's song, or soft as water flashing mid the hills, or mighty as a great chant of many winds. Moon bright, thou livest in thy inner bliss. This is, you see, the same event, the first meeting, what we see in Radha and Krishna, here we see on a different level. But you see the poet is giving us a different description. Moon bright, thou livest in thy inner bliss. Because all the time we see here this extra dimension of which we spoke before, the extra dimension of the inner. All through there's always the inner bliss, inner contact, inner voice. Thou comest like a silver deer through groves of coral flowers and buds of glowing dreams, or fleest like a wind goddess through leaves, or roamest, O ruby-eyed and snow-winged dove, flitting through thickets of thy pure desires, in the unwounded beauty of thy soul. These things are only images to thy earth, but truest truth of that within thee sleeps. For such is thy spirit, a sister of the gods, thy earthly body lovely to the eyes, and thou art kin in joy to heaven's sons. O thou who hast come to this great perilous world, now only seen through the splendor of thy dreams, where hardly love and beauty can live safe, thyself a being dangerously great, a soul alone in a golden house of thought, has lived walled in by the safety of thy dreams, on heights of happiness leaving doom asleep, who hunts unseen the unconscious lives of men. If thy heart could live locked in the ideal's gold, as high as happy might thy waking be, if for all time doom could be left to sleep. You see, here there's a lot of hidden message. I mean, he's one side calling her, beautiful descriptions here, where he says, a soul alone in a golden house of thought, O thou who hast come in this great perilous world, now only seen through the splendor of thy dreams. So he is referring to her higher being, higher aspects. And yet, he is not yet telling the real message, why he has come. So he doesn't want to burst her enthusiasm, burst her romance. But then after that, he spoke but held his knowledge back from words. He spoke all these outer things, your beauty, your smile, the forest, and all the beautiful description. Thyself a being dangerously great. You see, you are great, but you have danger around you. You have to pass through a lot of danger. So all that description is fine. But we begin to smell something behind what Narad is telling. That is this all the greatness, all the beauty that he wants to describe? But he says, he held his knowledge back. But after that, the story goes, and now is this interesting part. Now the question is, after Narad and after the speech, then Savitri tells her father, down the line, another 2 pages hence, you see, Father and King, I have carried out thy will. One whom I sought, I found in distant lands. I have obeyed my heart, I have heard its call. I want you to notice here that these lines are flat. These lines are not romantic. There's no description, there's no symbolism. It's a straight fact. Absolutely straight, there's no mincing of words. I have carried out thy will, one whom I sought I have found in distant lands. I have obeyed my heart, I have heard its call. On the borders of a dreaming wilderness, mid Sharva's giant hills and brooding woods, in his thatched hermitage Dhimatsena dwells, blind, exiled, outcast, once a mighty king. The son of Dhimatsena, Satyavan, I have met on the wild forest's lonely verge. My father, I have chosen, this is done. No emotions. It is kind of fate itself speaking, destiny speaking. You see, it's such a straightforward declaration. It's not even a speech, it's a declaration. That my father I have chosen. And you see, from the poetic point of view, there are very few lines in Savitri which are broken like this. One single line broken into two sentences. My father I have chosen, full stop. This is done, full stop. It's a kind of fait accompli. It's a destiny's voice is given. There's no room for any bartering, any discussion, any decision, any other change. So this is done, it comes like a flag and says it's over. But then we see here, of course after that you have this the story of the mother, how she sobs and all that. And I'm not getting into that. What I'd like you to see is come to down the line another 3 pages where we see the speech, but Savitri replied with steadfast eyes, my will is part of the eternal will. That should be just last but one page of this canto.
$435.
435. Now here is the question that I would like to concentrate. You see what has happened in the story. So Savitri gives a decision. This is done. My choice is made. And then there is the mother who tries to dissuade her, telling her find someone else who can have a full life with you. All that we know. But then when Satyavan actually declares, just 2 pages before, where he says, in one brief year, when this bright hour flies back and perches careless on a branch of time, this sovereign glory ends, heaven lent to earth, this splendor vanishes from the mortal sky. Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Satyavan must die. So now, after all this question of the romanticism, the love and all that, suddenly we see Narad declaring, I'm sorry Savitri, your choice is right, but this man whom you have chosen, his destiny is like this. That his destiny is once you get married, from there 12 months hence, Satyavan must die. This day returning, Satyavan must die. Now this is where we need to discuss a little bit 2 questions. One is that was taken up in the morning and Jamshed was eager to get the answer. Satyavan must die. This day returning, Satyavan must die. And in Canto 1, Book 1, we say, this was the day when Satyavan must die. So why did Narad spoil the joy, the thrill, the romance of Savitri? When he saw in the first passage, when we had seen the description, he sees her really, blossoming. When he says, even your hands have got the remembered cloth. So was he sadistic to say, I'm sorry, your lover is all fine, you have a great love and a great man. But why did he have to declare? Wouldn't it have been better to leave it aside and say, well, she has fallen in love, So better leave it at that and let fate take its own turn. You see, when we know that something bad is going to happen, and especially at a moment which is the climax of her life. I mean, she's just coming to her father to say, Father, I've heard my call and it's over. So the question is, should Narad have declared it? Or would it have been better if he had kept quiet and let things run? What is your response?
I think it's Savitri's task was her mission to overcome this thing first. That was her mission, was the first thing. She has to discover it. And I think the marriage altogether was, how you say, her mission was the first thing to do.
No, that is not the question. The question is, was it necessary for Narad to declare this date, this fate of Satyavama?
Yeah, to prepare her, to the situation, make clear the situation, what the task is there, I would say.
Yeah, there's one side
She
here.
could consciously prepare for the task that is in front of her.
Yeah,
Once she knows.
preparation.
Because she knows that she has the capacity to bring her consciousness outward so that they can receive for which she is wishing.
Yeah, basically they're all saying the same thing.
Sir, but in the end of this same canto, she declares that she knows who she is and that is why she has come.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a new point, yes. One is preparation of Savitri, the other one is she says, I know why I've come. Any other point you want to add?
In Indian mythology, wherever Narad appears in any epic or any story, his role is defined like this, that he has to tell the, he has to bring in the higher consciousness for a purpose to get fulfilled, and he takes that methodology of, seemingly spoiling the game, but ultimately it makes the game.
Yeah.
Lays down the path towards the ultimate.
Yes, I think you have the right answer. Yes, Narad knew, even when he comes down, comes Ashwapati, we said Narad is one who has the foreknowledge. So he has a full knowledge of what's happening. And so basically, there are two things. One is by telling her bluntly that this day returning Satyavan must go, must die. It is apparently a big shock, but not for Ashwapati or for Savitri. It's a big shock only for the human mind, that is the mother. She has not progressed into that spiritual consciousness. So on a human level, as any mother would, she gets a shock. But Narad is not here for the mother. Of course, he has given her a rational explanation about why suffering and pain and death and all that. But then the important thing, as most of you have said, is the preparation. You see, the preparation, part of the preparation is the Shakti Yoga or Trirakti Yoga that she does before the last day when Satyavan goes to the forest. So that Shakti Yoga was of the greatest importance. It's not that she is preparing psychologically. It's not that she was mentally preparing herself that one day more, he is gone. It's not a mental preparation. Because you see, she is given exactly the 364 days to elevate her consciousness. So imagine, on this declaration depends this entire sadhana, all that we are seeing, that the in search of the soul and all that, is there only because she wants to surmount death. So if she had not known this truth, this Shakti Yoga, this psychological, this mental, this spiritual, this transformational, nothing would have happened. But then, she was the avatar. She was the branch of heaven. She was come down as an incarnation. So did she require this kind of a notice so that she can prepare? Because if she is the avatar, she has to do it herself. Then what was the necessity of Narad telling her? Because one side we say Savitri is the avatar, the other side we are saying she needs to be notified so that she can prepare. They really don't gel together. There seems to be some internal contradiction. Huh?
They descend into the inconscient or subconscient, they forget. They are veiled.
Okay.
She has taken up the human form.
So?
That binds her, no, all the mental she, though she is an avatar, she is still having that mental level or this level. All those things has to be over, no? She has to overcome all those things because later on in her yoga, all these first two kinds of describing that how she is asking that I lost my health, why should I have this humanity, all those things she is telling. So she is also a human being. Having come down to this earth, she has to cross over.
Yes, one is, of course, what you have said is quite on the right line, that yes, although she is the avatar, she has to go through this process. You see, as I was telling you yesterday, avatar doesn't become an avatar overnight. He was also to reveal her own avatarhood. It was a very rare case that the mother was very conscious of her higher consciousness, divine mission right from the beginning. Others, most of the avatars you see, there is a span of age, sometimes at this age, sometimes with this event. Nobody is aware that he or she is an avatar right from the beginning. I mean, this was the question asked to Sri Aurobindo also. Were you aware of your avatarhood right from the beginning? We don't see that kind of a consciousness of an avatar in Sri Aurobindo as we see in the mother. You see, we have got the dual avatars, but one of them was fully aware, the other was not aware. He grows into the consciousness of avatarhood, and I know not at what time, what incident he knew he was the avatar. But he never declares that, of course, it's the mother who declares. So similarly, Savitri herself being an incarnation, she needs to be told, she needs to be informed, she needs to be awakened, she needs to be, as she's word somewhere there, make herself like a steel, it's a steel decision, it's like a steel hard decision. And then ultimately, if you see the whole gamut of the time span, is part of the game. Even Narad's coming, telling, etc., is built into the scheme of the avatar's life. All that happens to Mother or Sri Aurobindo, they're meeting here, what happened for the first time when he came in 14, their mother has to go away. And this is not perchance. The World War was an excuse, but the mother had to go away. But maybe Sri Aurobindo himself was not ready to receive the Divine Mother. He still had to do 6 years of tapasya. So you see, all these things are not just coincidental. So even though it is an avataric life, things have to be on the human level kind of reworked out, or the lid has to be taken off from the events. So we see Savitri, Narad's coming was inbuilt into the scheme. So if you have not mentioned this harsh fate, and after all, the whole battle here is between love and fate. See, we call it between Savitri and Satyavan, Savitri and death. But the real battle is between love, represented by Savitri, and fate, or doom, or death, These are the same words. So as we say here, she has come to change the fate. So her own fate, she changes. And that is what is magnificent in Sri Aurobido's message here, that one can change one's fate, but by a spiritual power, not by any other religious or moral or all this Brahmins and Pujaris telling you. If one can contact the higher spiritual consciousness, one can change. Now this one more line, some of you have been asking, I do not have that line here, but you see, why did Satyavan die? Of course, many people have answered many in different ways, you might have heard about them. But one of the questions that I would raise is, did Satyavan really die? You see, the question is, this day returning Satyavan must die. This was the day when Satyavan must die. Did he say this is the day when Satyavan died? It's a must die. I mean, you say, I tell you, you must come at 6 o'clock. But to come at 6 o'clock or not is your choice. As a teacher, as a guide, I'm saying, hey, you must come at 6 o'clock. But did you come or not? I don't know. So there is a little bit of a twist in this. Satyavan must, there's always a must. Must is there because it is written in the calendar of destiny. But did Satyavan die on that day? Because can we not erase our own destiny? Hasn't Savitri erased that must into a... You see, must is one of the possibilities. Karna hai. But Karaki nahi is not my choice. If you say, no, sorry, Ananda Reddy, I'm sorry, I will not come. You may deny. Although I say you must come, you may say, sorry, I've got other engagement, I'm not coming. So to take my verdict, or to refuse it, or to deny it, or to reject it is your choice. So there is a bit of a possibility of rejecting this must die feature. But we may take it as he died because it suits our purpose of showing the transformative aspect. You see, because I'm trying to guess all this, I'm transferring the same question to Sri Aurobindo. So Sri Aurobindo must die. So there, yes, whatever the date he chose, on 5th December 1950, this was the day when Sri Aurobindo must die. Nobody said that. He decided it for himself. But he died in the usual sense that he left his body. Whatever these reasons that we may have. Because even in Satyavan, all the time, there are so many sentences, which I will see if I can get them, where Sri Aurobindo writes that Savitri is going to change the fate of her body, not his body. His means not Satyavan. So all the time Sri Aurobindo is referring to Savitri's body, her death, her future, her transformation. And the person who died is Satyavan. But we see all the things happening in Savitri. That's a very strange thing. I don't know if I have those lines, but I will see if I can get them. But that is what is remarkable. That Sri Aurobindo is referring to, saying that it is her body's future, it is her body's fate that she is going to work out. And so this is the mystery of Satyavan's death. One, to die or not to die is his choice. You found the line? No. To die or not to die is one choice. But second thing is, he chose to die or to leave his body. Because if Satyavan did not choose to leave his body, the whole transformation would have been postponed. That's why Sri Aurobindo also had to leave his body, because he hastened the process of transformation by his own death. How? He has taken his mortal body, or the body that remained behind, into the womb of earth. The supramental body which was charged with the supramental consciousness and power, it was put inside the earth. So there is a radiation of this supramental force in matter. If Sri Aurobindo had not left his body, supposing, then the body would not have, the supermind would not have a direct connection with matter. You see, the supermind would have been in the mental level or the vital level or even the physical. But one of the theories of transformation is that there must be the force entering and touching, literally touching matter. So Sri Aurobindo had to leave his body so that his body is interred into the body, into the earth, where it touches matter literally. And all that experiences that the body undergoes there, the mother had, just like Savitri had. So that's the question we see. I can answer only in the light of what Mother Sri Aurobindo did. Otherwise, we could have easily said Satyavan may not have died. Savitri may say fine. However, so those are the things that I wanted to see. So Narad's telling about the blunt fate is more like a catalyst, He tells her, and immediately she says, my will is part of the eternal will, the last page of this canto. My faith is what my spirit's strength can make. My faith is what my spirit's strength can bear. My strength is not the Titan's, it is God's. I have discovered my glad reality beyond my body in another's being. I have found the deep, unchanging soul of love. Then how shall I desire a lonely good, or slay, aspiring a white vacant peace, the endless hope that made my soul spring forth out of its infinite solitude and sleep? I'm jumping lines. Only now for my soul in Satyavan I treasure the rich occasion of my birth. In sunlight and a dream of emerald ways, I shall walk with him like gods in paradise. If for a year, that year is all my life, and yet I know this is not all my fate, only to live and love a while and die. For I know now why my spirit came on earth, and who I am, and who he is I love. I have looked at him from my immortal self. I have seen God smile at me in Satyavan. I have seen the eternal in a human face. Then none could answer to her words. Silent they sat and looked into the eyes of fate. There's one line that's remarkable here, you see. He says, for I know now why my spirit came on earth. What we are saying on the first day, remember, when there's a pressure of death, this immortality of the cells comes forth. So it's because of this faith, because of this declaration of her faith, the pressure of the declaration, that something of her avatar zooms, breaks out. So this was necessary. This is the moment when she realizes her spirit, that she is the avatar, she has come as a mission. So it comes in as a fountain revealing her own truth. Because until then we don't see this kind of a thing. Of course, when she says, I will not take back my words, But what's important is Narad's declaration of the faith of Satyavan was that point where her avatarhood is triggered off. You see how very important it is from the point of view of sadhana and spirituality, that at that tremendous pressure of death, her own avatarhood comes out. And then she realizes what she is, who is Satyavan. And therefore he says very bluntly, I know now why my spirit came on earth, and who I am, and who he is I love. These two sentences are sufficient. They stand against this was the day when Satyavan must die. Now he says, I don't care, because I have realized now my mission. So you see dramatically what a juxtaposition it is. One side fate uttering, the other side the divine utterance. So you have now the two realities in front of the reader. Now the second part of the story begins. What will happen? Who will win? The fate or the divine? So that's the second part. So Narada's declaration is of crucial importance for the life of Savitri. And for once, the real dramatist person I have put in front of you, the reader. You don't anymore see Savitri, Satyavan and the human figures are lost. You come into the ultimate universal forces. After this also there is a line, there is some passages where Savitri buckles in and all that. But for once the truth is awakened in her, then you see that takes over. That is the importance of Narada's declaration. And so of all his description of Savitri, we get one truth, who Savitri is. Yeah? So we can stop at this today. Tomorrow we'll take up. Maybe we should relax a little bit. Take 5 minutes to go back to your seats there, and we'll have something to relax.
Secret is still
Pardon? Kevin?
You had kept the secret yesterday. It's still not.
I tell you, this man will not leave this.
I think you've forgotten.
I'll tell you when the moment comes, the painful secret.